let's take a look at some of the pitfalls in mentoring. There are some natural barriers or blocks on your journey towards becoming an effective mentor for others. Pitfalls could be things that you might do or not do, or habits that you might fall into, which will reduce your positive impact as a mentor. Potential pitfalls might include placing yourself under too much pressure, having your own agenda, or allowing the idea of being a mentor to suggest superiority or some sort of prestige. You may also struggle with lower levels of engagement or simply avoiding dependency. An effective mentor is able to experience an appropriate amount of pressure and still react constructively in situations. An example of an appropriate pressure might be that you regard your role as important and one that you want to do well at. This positive type of pressure motivates you to function well in interactions with your mentee. While some levels of pressure are healthy and even enlightening, heightened and extreme pressure is much less so. Putting yourself under extreme pressure is not helpful. As a mentor, too much pressure can reduce our effectiveness, as we're less able to stay natural and employ our usual strengths and abilities. Heightened or unhealthy pressure is often caused by a perceived gap in what we expect or want and how we imagine things actually are. As a mentor, you want to stay resourceful and confident and be able to trust that whatever arises during your mentoring conversation is something that you're equipped to handle. Developing a positive perspective is important as you will maintain a constructive outlook to cope with the challenges and unexpected developments that arise during mentoring. Using the supporting principles to help you develop a positive view of your involvement and put aside notions of perfection. This pitfall occurs when a mentor distorts the intention of providing appropriate assistance by adding their own agenda. It's natural for a mentor to want their mentee to gain positive benefit from their involvement and make progress. However, a mentor's intention can develop into wanting something specific for them based on their own view. A mentor's agenda can often develop as they begin to form subjective views or judgments on the mentee's situation. These subjective views will be based on the mentor's own worldview and bias. Developing a personal agenda can happen when the mentor feels pressure to improve the results of the mentee or improve them in some way. When we create our own agenda for the mentee and become attached to them achieving certain results, we've moved away from guiding principles. You might think their goals are great and their progress is good, but then in conversation you find that you interrupt them too often or don't listen properly or keep trying to fix things for them. Having a personal agenda for someone else often comes from a desire to know the answer, be perceived as having added value, or simply wanting to be in charge. When we work to stay present to someone, we focus on them and what's being said or happening in the moment. Allowing the idea of being a mentor to suggest superiority or prestige is a pitfall. This pitfall occurs when we confuse an emphasis or focus on the mentor because we have something the mentee wants with superiority. This pitfall of superiority is a subtle one, as it demands self-awareness from you as a mentor to spot both the tendency and the impact it's having upon your outlook and behavior. When we're self-aware, we're more conscious of what we're doing and why we're doing it. This means that we can make better choices in the moment and over time. As a mentor, you need to retain a sense of equality in the relationship, that you're no better or worse than your mentee, and that this relationship is where both parties have equal ability to influence. Retaining a sense of humility as a mentor does not mean that you shouldn't put yourself in a lower position to the person that you're mentoring. Humility is simply an opportunity to perceive yourself appropriately in the context of the relationship. Where you may have placed yourself in a perceived position of equality or inequality, you can shift your perception to be different. As you know, our perception of something creates our reality of it. As an effective mentor, you aim to sustain good levels of engagement for both yourself and your mentee. Engagement enables a successful relationship for the mentor and mentee because they can be aligned on the goals of mentoring and invested in the process of achieving them. Engagement is a combination of our intellection, how we understand something, our emotion, how we feel about it, and our action, what we're doing in response to our understanding, views, and feelings. When your mentee has low levels of engagement, it's likely to impair both their attitude and actions related to the mentoring activity. It's important to understand what's causing your mentee's apparent low engagement before responding. It's also critical to stay objective, assessing only facts rather than interpretation. If you aren't clear on what's causing your mentee's apparent low engagement, then an objective, facts based conversation based on supportive intentions about that is a good place to start. For example, perhaps they don't say much during conversations or act on the advice that you're giving them. Once you understand more about the situation, you can decide the best way to respond in collaboration with your mentee. Any one-on-one relationship presents the potential for either party or both to become dependent on each other. By becoming dependent, one party feels a sense of reliance on the other for something and would feel a sense of loss or being uncomfortable at the idea of not having it. It's important that you and your mentee remain independent from each other and enable the benefits of mentoring to be realized, that they become more empowered and equipped to face future challenges. Dependency can often occur where there's a stated intention of support. Perhaps for a mentee, being helped creates a feeling of "I need help." Alternatively, as a mentor's support is clearly appreciated, the mentor translates that into a sense of "I am needed." As a mentor, it helps to recognize signs and symptoms of dependency so that you can decide the best response. When we maintain self awareness, we're more likely to notice our increased dependency on the relationship over time. If you really enjoy conversations because they're intellectually stimulating and you'd be disappointed if they were cut short, that's completely normal and healthy. However, if you suspect that you're keeping conversations going for a more selfish reason, like you might like to feel liked, needed, or flattered, admired, powerful, and so on, that signals something to look at. Where these elements are not balanced, the potential of mentoring becomes diluted. As a mentor, the pitfall of dependency is one that you need to stay aware of and yet not become distracted by. Asking a mentee to assist in monitoring the potential issue isn't helpful. Also, if you can distract or waste time looking for issues that are not there instead of focusing on positive topics such as the mentee's progress. As a mentor, you can combine the potential issue of dependency with your occasional reflections, perhaps using the questions here or prompting thoughts in other ways. Questions like, what are the benefits of our sessions? Without them, how would it affect progress? How do you feel about the relationship if it ended? And what does the mentee feel? Or how independent are we of each other? You might also reflect on mentoring principles occasionally to ensure they still feel present in the relationship.